Welcome to the Endurance Balance. I'm Coach J.W. McKenna. Joining me are Coach Alicia Phillips and Coach Ann Sharkey. Together, we break down the 80-20 philosophy through the lens of real life. Our goal is simple, to help you fit the training into the chaos. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to the Endurance Balance. I'm Coach J.W. and joining me as always is Coaches Alicia and Ann. The hay is in the barn, the fitness is built, and now it's race day. Suddenly you're terrified. Today we're diving into the art of the taper. We're breaking down why you get phantom injuries during race week, how to carb load without feeling bloated, the science behind the caffeine wean, and how to safely transition your winter indoor fitness to the outdoor start line. First, as always, let's start off with our training logs. Alicia, what updates or learnings do you have to bring to us this week?
Yeah, well, if you are anywhere, I feel like we've had a heat wave. It is spring. We went from blizzard to 80-degree temps. And I went for a run and it was like my zone 3 heart rate with a zone 1 pace. And I was like very humbled. I also have a few athletes getting ready I have one who's she lives in Boston, so where it's also been very cold, and she's getting on a plane tomorrow to fly to Puerto Rico to do Ironman 70.3. So it's going to be, definitely a heat adjustment, a humidity adjustment, which is going to steam really well into what we're talking about today. So I'm sure everybody's just kind of doing that too, of just going from indoors to outdoors and having all the feels, or maybe we're getting sick because of the weather, the ebbs and flows, the pressure, maybe it's allergies, all the things. Yeah. How about you, Ann?
Well, no, you don't get off that easy. How's the high rocks going?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you gotta know.
I am in denial. It's so weird. I have great days and I have like blah. And I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I'm not doing enough, but then I'm doing enough. It doesn't feel real. And it's just, I don't have a set plan that I'm following. Like I'm following a plan, but I'm kind of making it up. And am I doing this right? It's so weird, you guys. Stay tuned. I'll have a better response next week. But I will say the different exercises that I'm doing, I am seeing I'm feeling the stimulus. So I've never really been one to do ski erg or the rowing machine. And I'm feeling those muscles now. And again, it's kind of like one of those things, if you've never done yoga, then you do yoga and you're like, why am I so sore? Or vice versa. So yeah, so I guess that aspect is very positive. But then I'm just like, am I doing enough? Is this okay? But then I have to remind myself the goal is to have fun and experience it, not. And if I could do a marathon, I can do this. Right? They say the average athlete takes about 90 minutes to finish this race. So I'm like, that's still nothing compared to a marathon, It's like doing a half marathon. So
Right. And so is there any difference? I mean, you're still running, right? So have you switched up the cardio? Are you more focused on the strength training and the specific movements for
yes,
this? Or
I will say the running part is the thing that's been the most confident, because I know that's my bread and butter. So I've been just doing a easy progressive overload, doing some thresholds, doing some zone 2s, doing some intervals, throwing in some striders, and I'm keeping that consistent. The thing that is different is the compromised runs. So you have to run and then do lunges, squats, burpees, pull-ups, push-ups, run, repeat. So you're always running on fatigued legs. And that's been humbling, to say the least.
okay.
But obviously pretty cool. And this is totally off topic, but I tried bicarb for the first time this week. Have you
Wait,
guys heard about
ingest
this?
it or put it on your muscles, like on your legs?
Ingested.
Okay. So I feel like this is a
drank it.
whole, this is so timely. I was listening to a podcast on my way home this morning or tonight, and they were talking about bicarb. It was about supplements and which ones are worth it and which ones are not. And bicarb has definitely like had its, I don't think the hype is over. I think we're still in the middle of it, but I have not ingested it, but I have used like PR lotion for, legs and shoulders. It's just, I mean, you just basically rub it on. And what was your thought on it? Did you feel a difference?
You guys, I felt amazing.
Okay, so
Yes.
for listeners that don't know what this is, what is it and what's its intended use or outcome?
Okay, so bicarb is essentially baking soda. I actually did buy some packets, so it's something that you just pour in, and I want to say it's magnesium and bicarbonate, or baking soda and magnesium and a little bit of flavor, because it was lime flavored. But you pour it into your water bottle, and the directions say to sip on it for between 60 to 90 minutes before you work out. And you really only want to use it for like hard threshold days. So if you're going to go out for an easy run or do something chill, it'd be pointless to take. And I was getting ready to teach a live class, so I was like, I'll sip on it during work, and I'll sip on it like while I'm teaching, and then I'm gonna work out after my class. And I had I saw this challenge on Instagram, and she did 1,000-meter ski erg. I posted this on social. 1,000-meter run, 1,000-meter row, and then another 1,000-meter run as fast as you can. So I was able to do it in 20 minutes. So it was just literally a 20-minute all-out effort as fast as you can, but kind of pacing yourself. And like, I don't know, the week before I did some threshold runs, like 5 minutes at threshold, recover, and those threshold efforts were really hard. And when I took the bicarb and I did it, I was running like 8 miles per hour. So it was like 7:30 pace. For like, it took me 4 minutes ish. And I was like so the idea behind bicarb is that it buffers the lactic acid, so your body can clear it better is kind of the thing, but really it's baking soda. Like, you can brush your teeth with it. It's a safe ingredient per se. But there's obviously, I've been hesitant on it because I'm famous for stomach issues. This is not even the topic we were going on today. Look at us already going on a huge tangent.
That's okay. And so it's supposed to be as a way to remove lactate? Like, does it not still have transport
buffer
through
it? So it changes like the pH. So like I didn't get that feeling of like my legs are heavy, I'm bonking at all. And my heart rate, I felt like I could have just kept going. It was so bizarre.
Does it call for a load period, or is it just you can drink this and you're good to go? Like, is there, you know what I'm saying? Like, is there a preloading period?
So like, they say 90 minutes before you work out.
Okay. So not like days where you need to preload. I gotcha.
Correct. No, you just, so you can't drink it and then go work out though. You need that because it's baking soda. Like, when I was pouring the powder into my drink, it started fizzing like a science project. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to do this to my stomach. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? But in my mind, I have to be the guinea pig. I have to test it before I can tell my athletes go. But it's been, I mean, it's so like pro athletes, I feel like if you're not using it, you're dumb. Let's just call it.
Well,
like, all the pro athletes are doing it, but I'm like, I'm not, I'm just average. So I literally just wanted to try it out, and it's been sitting in my cabinet for months, and I finally tested it and I had like an aha moment. Granted, it was only one time, so I feel like I gotta try it a few more
Well, I'd
times.
like for some listeners, if they've tried it or had some experience with it, drop us a note, drop a comment in the comments or anything, and let us know. I'm actually going to be the geek, and after the show, I'm going to go check this out, right? And when we're done recording, and because I still believe in the science of if we want to lactate or move lactate faster, is that we build up the powerhouses in the mitochondria and reuse that lactate for energy. But maybe what you're saying, and again, this is where I'll find and dig into the science, is like you say, so it's buffering it and it's changing the pH. Maybe it's just turning it more easily into a product that could be turned back into ATP or something. I don't know. I'll have to check it out.
Well, and I even go back to placebo effect. Like it could have been special water, but I thought it was something, so I performed better. Who knows?
So I guess maybe the final question I have on that one is it's not necessarily in the stimulus category, like, Red Bulls and things like that are. So, or the explodes,
No
all those,
caffeine.
right? So it's just a buffer. So let's check it out. And if any listeners have any info or something that they want to offer for experience, let us know. Absolutely.
Yeah. And my last thing about it is if anybody has tried carbon plated shoes, that first run you went on one and you were like, whoa, this feels cool. It was the same kind of moment I had. And they say it's like anywhere between a 2% and 4% change. That's where like how carbon shoes can make you like more efficient. That's kind of what they're saying about the bicarb. But I wouldn't just go take some baking soda and put it in your water and drink it. There's products out there. I know Morton has some. I used Faster was the brand, but definitely do some homework.
And then I think the other thing that we would certainly recommend as well is I'm having a bit of a brain block right now, but you know how so BioSteel will have a Safe Sport. Is that the seal? That
NSF
says that
certified.
Which one? Sorry.
NSF.
Yeah, NSF. That's the one I'm thinking of. Thank you. So, any of the products anybody's out there, this is just, the kind of the caveat to what we're saying is just make sure, like you're saying, don't just go to the cabinet and start putting it in. A lot of the stuff is tested to make sure that it's safe. And,
well, and that's the one
safer.
thing they said is you can't, there's baking soda and cupcakes. Like, there's nothing illegal about it. It's just very obviously, but yes.
Yeah. Okay.
For sure.
Oh, very cool. And did we see you signed up for something today?
I did
on social.
Sign up for something last night. Yes, I signed up for a half-mile open water swim race. That's put on by a friend of mine that has this amazing group here in the Tampa Clearwater area. So I really was intending to just go volunteer, and I've been meaning to reach out to her a couple times and just ask if she needed help. And then last night, I don't know what happened, but I just decided that I should probably just go swim because I haven't swam since last summer, and why not just go do a half mile in the ocean? But I signed up for it. I have 3 weeks. I don't have access to a pool that's super convenient between now and then. So if I do go swim in the ocean, it's probably going to be on like one of our beach days where I'm just out there anyway, and we'll see what happens. So I'm banking on my experience to get me through? ? So we'll see. I feel like I don't know, it'll be fine. It's 800-900 yards. And I'm not poo-pooing that because I know for a lot of people, like that is it's a considerable distance, and
It would kill me.
Open water in the ocean. Open water in the ocean is a different ball game than a lake or a pool, of course, but why not? It's a beautiful Sunday morning. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. And I just went ahead and did it. So,
okay. And is this a race, an event just for yourself that you signed up that you kind of wanted to do, or were you doing it with some buddies, or?
My friend is the race director, so I may know some of the people that are doing it also, just not like as friends, but just kind of like people I've seen at other races here. I don't have that big triathlon community here because I really had kind of stepped away from it pretty much when we moved to Florida. But that being said, I feel like any time you show up to a place where their triathletes or a group of people swimming, everybody's so welcoming. It doesn't matter if I know anybody or not. So we're going to do that in the morning. And then I do have Dragon Boat League racing practice in the evening. So we will see.
2 days.
Still
Let's
doing
go.
that. Excellent.
Oh my gosh,
Excellent.
I've been having so much fun. We've only had 2 practices. But it's been a blast. Last Sunday though, I wasn't sore the next day, but I could definitely feel, because we're getting more into the technique, so I could definitely feel like lats.
So
and
do you
core.
like one practice you'll be on the right side, one side you're on the left side, or do you have like a spot and that's just your spot?
So far we just have a spot.
Really?
So it's pretty interesting. What they're doing is there are a couple. This is just like, I think it's the first time they've done this, from what I'm gathering. They offered like a Tuesday, Thursday, and a Sunday opportunity. They moved some people over from one of the other days because it was so heavy that they fill up 2 of the boats for us on Sunday. So the boats hold 20 people. Our boat still only has 18, which is fine, but we just kind of sat in the boat. I mean, didn't seem to be a rhyme or reason to me. I'm sure there was to the coaches, but they did move some people around last week just to balance the boat, but also like move some of the power. So I sat down on the left side. I feel like now it would be very weird to go to the right side, but I'm just on the left. And it's been a blast. There's such a wide variety of ages and people.
I just feel like being on the water, it's probably sunset. It's so got to be so therapeutic.
It's
That's
beautiful. Yes.
That's
Yeah.
what like the thing I think of when I went out and experienced it. I was like, wow. And then
I'm thinking I just want to be the drummer, dude.
I don't
Right,
know. That's a risky seat. I have learned that that's a very risky seat. So you're sitting backwards and you have all these brand new people rowing a boat that is very like, it's very unsettled because we don't know what we're doing, but
Oh, I wouldn't know what I'm doing either. That would make it really interesting.
no,
Just
I have
yelling
really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. You're right. Like for me, the water is a place where I can just go and forget everything. I can unplug. The hour flies by. There are no phones. It's just peaceful, and the weather's been absolutely gorgeous. So a little bit of sweat, and then it's time to go.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
So how about you,
Just
JW?
hearing the joy in your voice is like, I can tell you're excited about it.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. JW, what do you have?
Yeah, so just you're clipping along. I think we mentioned last episode Runa was going to be grading.
Your beard looks like you clipped your beard.
Actually, I'm growing it longer again.
It's summer. It's time to shave it.
No, you got to get it longer. I'm not sure if we talked about Runa and her grading for karate, but she graded last Saturday and she passed. So she skipped a belt as well. So she went from the belt she was at, she skipped orange and went orange to black with stripe.
Nice. Good.
Which is apparently a pretty big step for the kids. But she's not a kid anymore, which apparently when they hit 10, they're basically now into the adult system. Right. So for grading, so it'll take longer for her progression and for grading and stuff now. But she's pretty stoked to be graded the first time as the adult and to achieve this belt. So it was 3 hours. They were 3 hours grading. Right. There was a group of them. I think there was about 15 kids. And anywhere from I think orange up to yellow to I think a blue belt. were grading that day. So it was a pretty good achievement for her. She is super stoked. And yeah,
That's
so we're
awesome.
doing that. We've got trainings just in the households kind of clipping along for some of the ultras and stuff coming up. And the kids at Cascades are doing really well we're doing great as well. If anybody has been listening that doesn't know, part of my practicum, so I'm really literally I got one more class and I'm done. And that class is really just prepping us for our CSIP. So it's a Canadian standard certification it's the gold standard in Canada here for personal fitness trainer. And this course is really just all about passing that. That's what I'm told. I mean, obviously you're going to learn some stuff, I guess, in it, but it's, lifestyle stuff and everything. But I'm working right now for my second practicum, and I'm working with the kids over at Cascades. And Cascades is a swim club in Calgary. But these are high performance kids. Right. So, I mean, they're the ones that are swimming twice a day, 6 days a week, and strength conditioning 2 to 3 times a week. And I got them for 2 days a week, and they got a match coming up, or a meet, I guess they call it, in a week and a half. And they're going to be doing 3 different competitions, I guess, over the course of 4 days or something. So it's crazy. I mean, this is kind of like your guys' world at hand with the swimming and stuff. But I had them in the gym, and I developed a pretty neat session for them, and apparently most of them liked it, which was pretty cool. So got into some gorilla rows, some Arnold presses, and these kids, again, they're 14 to 19. We have 2 groups that are broken up, and these kids are just amazing, right? And they're in the gym an hour twice a week, and then, like I said, 2 swims a day for 6 days a week. So kind of where Canada draws from for some of their high elite swimmers and stuff. So that is going very, very good as well. So that's
Good.
kind of where I'm at. My training is still kind of off to the side, getting a few runs in a week I can. So it's just life, right? As we book on. So which is a pretty good taper into, or a segue into some of the stuff, because I've just had the last 2 past weekends, I've had some athletes racing. Right. This past weekend we had Joe, his first ever Olympic distance triathlon, finished 2:48, right, in his first one. Top 10 finish. Awesome finish. Congrats, Joe. Clap, clap, clap. And he's super stoked. His next one we're moving on to is the 70.3 for him. And we had Ricky with the marathon and those folks before. But what we're going to talk about next is a taper week. Right. So, and I do get a lot of questions of oh, I know coaches, they only taper me 1 week. I get some coaches, they want to taper me 2 weeks, and it feels like it's too long. So with that taper stuff and some of the things that I think that we would like to talk about as what do you do in the taper? But I think whether you do 1 week or 2 week, the phantom pains are very real for athletes. And I get a lot of athletes that and we'll get you both to talk about it here, with your experiences with athletes and what you have them do or what you tell them. It's the phantom pains are basically athletes thinking, I'm injured because I decreased my volume, and you're not injured. It's your brain just messing with you, really, at the end of the day, right? So I guess first, let's start with you, Alicia. Do you like to taper 1 week, 2 week, or is it all depends?
Yeah, it's a depends.
Yeah.
If you're racing for 5K, 10K, you're not really tapering. Once you get into the marathon, 70.3 it is a little bit longer. This is what I always tell my athletes, and it is individual. The biggest thing is, so say you're used to running or enduring 5 days a week. We're going to still keep going for 5 days a week. We're just pulling back volume. So that intensity is going to build, because we still want to keep you in your routine. We still want to keep you moving. We want you to rest more. Okay. We want you fresh. We want you sharp. We want you sleeping more. Okay. That is a big one. I want 9-10 hours of sleep minimum during a taper week. A lot of athletes think like, oh, I have more time. I'm going to work more. I'm going to do some yard work. I'm going to hang out with family. And suddenly their taper is no longer like recovering and feeling fresh. It's like sleeping less, and then you're stressing about all the other things. So again, we want to reduce volume, not intensity. So if example, like say you're doing, normally you would do a 90-minute tempo, okay? This time we'd pull it back about 40 to 60%. We do 45 minutes with 2 to 3 like race pace intervals. Okay, we really want to hone in on that race pace feeling so you can be so in tune with what it's going to be like, where you're going to feel, how's it going to feel. I always tell for me anyways, I'm very big on like, I want you to know your pace and how it feels with your eyes closed, without your watch. Like you're just so in tune with that because if you're constantly checking your watch and wondering, oh no, like your heart rate's going to go up, your stress is going to go up, your anxiety is going to go up, your central nerves, like the ripple effect happens and you're just going to overthink it. Or like you could be going like, because you feel so good, it's okay to go a little bit faster to an extent. Sometimes we don't want to go out too hot, right? But a few things I just like to reiterate is the taper crazies, I call them. So again, in every taper, your legs feel heavy. Just like JW said, you feel like you're losing fitness. You get that restlessness. You don't know what to do with yourself because you're so used to like, this is the time I'd be doing this. But in general, fitness takes about 10 to 14 days to decay. So short tapers are always safe. I always tell my athletes, yes, we want to lose a little bit of fitness so we can peak, okay? Like, so we can be fresh. And is it really you're losing fitness? It's kind of one of those things. You're just so used to training on tired legs constantly that you're just like, what is this feeling? The recovery is worth it on race day. But I did want to like leave you guys with some like, check this out if you're in a taper. I know we have a lot of spring races. I have a few athletes getting ready to race this weekend and in the next couple of weeks. So it's been fun having to like strategize races and just reassure my athletes that this is normal and this is how you should feel. That's another thing is I never want if you're showing up to the race a little puffy, that's a good sign. That tells me you've been carb loaded and then you've been hydrating and that you're hyperhydrated and you're ready to go. If you're showing up like you're a bodybuilder, like super cut and ripped, we got problems because that means you probably haven't had enough carbs. But what is your resting heart rate? So every morning you should be checking your resting heart rate. If it's normal or slightly lower, your taper is working, okay? How is your mood? If your energy is improving, that is a good sign. And your leg pop, like when you go to do some strides or some quick turnovers or some quick intervals, you should feel very snappy. If you feel like fatigued and dull, then let's talk about it. But otherwise, that's another good sign that you're tapering well. I do expect your performance to dip a little bit, but it's because the taper is working, okay? Your glycogen is shifting, the stimulus from the reduced training is affecting, and your nervous system is kind of recalibrating. Now, what do I mean by that? I know I'm talking a lot, so stay with me. I hope you're kind of absorbing this, taking notes, or feel free to rewind this and listen to it again if you're coming up into a taper. But I want you to think about just using that extra energy to, again, hone in on that sleep. Okay. Go on a nice long walk. Don't be doing any like crazy yard work or deep cleaning in your house. Okay. That's extra stress. We want you chilling out and recovering. But with that, I heard like a honking horn for a second. when you think about the glycogen like refilling, okay, why you get those phantom pains. Sometimes it's usually an Achilles tightness. It's a knee ache or what, I don't know. Do you guys ever hear about the common, I think I'm injured, but I'm not during a taper?
Yeah, I get a lot of the like tight calves, tight quads, hammies. Like it's
Mhm.
just and again, it's for me the way I explain it to them is just that you've decreased considerably in your volume, and not necessarily in intensity, but definitely in the volume. Because
Mhm.
I'm slightly different, is that like not different, but just a little different in the ways that I do keep the intensity. So the 20% sessions, I call them, are the high intensity sessions, even the week of taper. So taper 1 and 2, I still keep mine around 45 to 50 minutes. But what I do decrease, like yourself, is the volume of the foundation runs, because that's where they're going to start getting, in my mind, in my experience, that's where they're going to start getting that recovery of the fitness and then form coming up, fatigue coming down. But by keeping them sharp, and then even with the weight stuff, and we're going to talk about weights here in a minute too, is once we get Ann to chime in on this, is I do a lot of plyometrics in taper week, right? Or doing muscle movements. And so it's more neuromuscular, because I want the brain to still fire the muscles. I still want that connection to stay fresh, so that when they're ready to go on race day, it's not having to kind of warm up the engine, so to say. The neurological connections are still there. So that's kind of where I'm at. So the phantom pains, I tend to tell them, is just that brain, it's so used to firing so much on the muscles that the muscles, we're not working them as hard. And so those pains are probably really not there. Go do some foam rolling and you'll probably be fine. Right. And most of them come back and go, yeah, I mean, you're kind of right. Like, it is kind of one of those things where it feels like it, but it's not really. It's, I mean, I guess unless you really experienced them, they're kind of hard to explain.
Yeah.
Right. And
So I think this question too also will show this answer will show like how very different the three of us coach. And it also is really good evidence that there's not one path to the finish line, right? Like there are so many different approaches. You guys, I feel like, I mean, we're all very scientific, nerdy, because we wouldn't be doing this if we weren't. But for me, I don't necessarily dive down that rabbit hole with the athletes, because um, a lot of mine is like, just trust the process, especially during taper week. That's a time when there's so many other things going on in their mind that I'm like, just trust the process. You have so far. We dial it back. I typically, because my athletes are more like long distance endurance. I don't have like a 5K, 10K athlete. Even a half marathon will go to like maybe a week taper. It depends, but so many of my athletes are longer course, and we definitely focus on that 2-week taper. So for me, it's more just dialing back the intensity. I can't off the top of my head tell you like the specific like percentage that I drop back the first week and then how much I go back the second week. It doesn't really matter, because I'm still making those adjustments depending on like how they're responding. This is where it's really key though, for a personal conversation. Like, I want to hear how you're doing. I want to hear the fact that we're trying to talk and you're snapping at your husband and the kids. Like, I need to hear that, because that to me is like, for me personally as a coach, that's more evidence than like what I see on Training Peaks and like the data, right? We beat the data horse not to death, but we've talked about it quite a bit. So for me, it's having that personal conversation, hearing how you're feeling, maybe seeing you, like, do you tell me that your ankle or your knee is fine, but then you're limping across the parking lot after dinner? Like, those are things that I really pay attention to. There are some things when they're like, I don't know, I just, like you said, the phantom pains, like foam roll. you've got this extra time now. Go out for your run and go have breakfast. Go out to breakfast afterwards. Go do things. Be out with your family. Sometimes it's over. You've spent so much time training that your kids miss you. Like, go pick strawberries or whatever it is, but be sensible about it. Don't go out in the heat of the day. There's so many tweaks and so many examples that we
For
could
sure.
go down,
Yeah.
right? But for me, it's very much it depends. But for my athletes in general, it's typically a 2-week taper. Yeah.
I like that. And like I said, for pretty much, everything from the half marathon up for me, it's a 2-week taper. But again, it depends on the athlete, right? Like, I can have, the 2-week is going to, look a little different for the very seasoned half marathoner versus, a newer runner to the half marathon. So a lot of it
Yeah.
depends. And I do like that face-to-face talking too. And I do this with my athletes. So 3 weeks out from their event, we have a call and I lay everything out that I expect them to do. And I have those conversations with them on taper, kind of what to expect, the phantom pains. Like you're saying, I want you to actually rest. Don't think you have all this extra time now to, go out dirt biking or quadding and all this other stuff, right? Like it needs to be active recovery. And then the week of
Quadding. Hold on. Is that four-wheeling?
Yeah.
I've never heard it called quadding before. You Canadian, you.
Eh?
Okay, continue.
I'm sure all the Canadian listeners are going, what? You don't know what quadding is? That's it. We're not following anymore. No.
Go put your
Yeah,
knickers
definitely
on.
call me out on any of my Canadianisms for sure, right? And it's sure. And then I like to have a call with them, or I definitely talk with them, in that Monday or Tuesday, the week of the event, right? And just again, I want to talk to them and make sure that everything is going well. Because if we have to adjust what we're doing, I still give them their 5 days, and this is going to be kind of a segue into the next part. Is that I still have them train. We'll assume all races are on Saturday for the podcast when we're talking right now. So for a race on a Saturday, I still will have them doing something up until the Friday, right? And so a typical for me is, you still have your Mondays and Thursdays are my typical feed play days. You still have those. They're just going to be dialed back, and they're going to be very specific, right? So it's the specificity principle, right? But then, but the run on and I tend to, it's interesting because with Joe, his was a little bit unique because he had self-coached, brought me in for the taper, and then we're moving on to his 70.3. I switched up his day before and just said, yeah, I don't necessarily like those times and those volumes. And so that day before, if you're a runner, I give you like a 20-minute zone 1, zone 2. Just go out, keep that neurological connection good. It's really relaxing. Go out with buddies, everybody else. It's usually on the course or at the course if you're traveling and that type thing. For the triathlon, for what I did for Joe, is I brought it down and said, okay, in the order of what I would really like you to do is probably get to swim. If you can do the swim today, and then if you can do a bike and then a run, right? He ended up having to drop one, I think, and I think we dropped the run, and he ended up doing the swim. And what I have him do in the swim on that day before was just a couple of like real quick 30-second intervals, right? So like do a 30-second of a zone 5 heart rate, zone 4 or 5 heart rate, just to mimic the start of the race. And then how do you settle into that zone 2 for swimming? And then same thing, on the bike or the run, depending on what he's doing, preferably the run, it's just going to be a couple of surges at the beginning just to keep everything kind of neurologically firing, and then into that. And the swim, it was 15 minutes, right? Like it's going to take you longer probably to get ready for the swim than it is to go do the swim. And same thing, the bike was 12 minutes, I think I had him do, a couple of surges and then into that. I have my athletes stop heavy training definitely 2 weeks out, right? But that first week taper tends to be a little more specific about Again, just more, not plyometrics. I save a lot of the plyometrics and the stretching stuff for the taper week, and I'll have them still do that Monday and Thursday. But it's just going to be some plyometrics and some movements and some, like we're talking like some of the stuff is like cat cows, right? And some glute bridges, and then maybe doing some box drops or something, right? Just keeping some of that, signals just going back and forth between the muscles, and then the carb loading, right? I know that's the topic of what we kind of want to talk about, but when I have them carb load, I usually start them about Tuesday, about the same day that I start them on tart cherry juice. Monday is typically a visit to go to not chiropractor, to a massage therapist. If you're going to do that, it's a relaxing Swedish massage, a zero, no. Did I mention no deep tissue on Monday race week? Please. You're going for a massage so you can relax and you can get into that. I'm going to be kind of deloading a little bit this week and bringing down that fatigue and bringing up the form. And the carb loading, kind of just a percentage. We'll just call it a percentage. I'm not going to give away all the numbers because, again, it kind of depends on the athlete. But we start increasing that throughout the week until, Friday. The last biggest meal is going to be Friday at lunchtime for me. That's what I tell them. Have your last big carb loaded meal Friday for lunch. Have an early light supper so that your stomach's fairly empty in the morning, and have your oatmeal or your bagels and everything in the morning with the caffeine. We can talk about that if we have time too, for your race. And then all of that just kind of stored. So we kind of talked about preloading the bicarbonate. We're really just getting all that carb, in my mind, and my plan is we're getting all those carbs slowly trickled in, and now the pool is full. So that when you start drawing on it, it's kind of as full as it can be. Like, it will deplete. There's no doubt about it. If you're in an endurance event, right, you're only having so much of the free, ATP floating around in the carbs, as I call it. And then all that zone 2 training, I tell athletes, right, really that's where most of your energy is going to come from, is that zone 2 training, building up the powerhouses in the mitochondria that are going to take the fat now. Like you're saying, I want you kind of bloated and not chiseled, because now that system has nothing to get, right? And so that's kind of what we've done, is we've filled all the stores in the body that we can with the carbs, so that now when mitochondria powerhouses are doing their thing, it's got something to grab it from. And that's kind of, in a nutshell, almost what my tapers look like for the athletes. Now, of course, the volumes and the intensities and everything else will be dependent on the distance and the athlete themselves. But how, so for your carb loading, and let's say, and hydration should be normal anyways, right? Like, that should be topped up. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Once you feel thirsty, you are already dehydrating, right? Like, you are in that 10% dehydrated already. And it's just like taking a bucket out of the pool of water and only trying to put a cup back, right? Like, so drinking, trying to catch up when you're taking so much out, it's hard, because basically most of the math that I can do and all the papers that I've read, on average, you will only be able to process about 1 liter of water per hour. And if you've ever done a sweat rate, right? I've done mine is like 1.2. So already, no matter if I'm putting in that 1 liter per hour as I should be, I'm still going to be losing 0.2, and do that over the course of a 10-hour event.
Yeah.
You're right. So this is why it's very important to make sure those stores, the pools are filled up in the internal body on our hydration, our carbs, or everything else. Because it's, and you can, I was having this conversation with Rune and Eirik, you can get very sick from trying to overhydrate. So when you start to feel that way, we see it every now and then in elite sports, where an athlete's taken to the hospital because of overhydration, right? And it can be very serious. So
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Cramping. This is one I've had with some athletes. Do you think this is a nutrition deficiency or a genetic? What are your thoughts on cramping? Why people cramp?
I have some, but Anne, go ahead, because I just spent the last few minutes yakking.
So my opinion on cramping is it's a nutrition aspect, but it's also a weak muscle aspect. So I have oh my gosh, it's been a day, and I don't know that my brain's going to wrap around or like say anything that really sounds halfway smart. But they, so like electrolyte depletion, 100%. If you have not hydrated or like not hydrated and fueled well prior to your workout, a lot of times we see it in 2-a-day workouts, like that second workout, muscle cramping. I see it in my athletes sometimes when they've got like especially Ironman distance, where they've got a big bike workout and then like a short brick run afterwards. That is an indication to me that you didn't fuel well,
fuel.
on the bike to get, and that's where the problem is with the run on a longer distance, is that it's what you do. If you fuel well on the bike, you'll have a 13 point or like a run afterwards to think about it. If you don't feel well on the bike, you'll have a long distance walk run to think about it. So there's that. But my belief too is it's typically in a weak muscle, like a cramp, calf, quad. For swimmers, the arches of your feet is huge. Part of it, I hear people say, well, I've just always cramped. That's just always the way it is. It's not. It's not always the way it has to be. You can be preventative. I use a product called Base Salt. It's just an electrolyte salt blend. I have me personally, I have some little indicator lights that go off that I know that I need that extra electrolytes. And I need to take in some of the base salt. It can start off as like a weird little twinge in my left quad at a very specific point. I've never been brave enough to let it go to a full-on cramp, because this is
then
where
you take it and then
and it's gone. This is where you've got to be very, very aware of your body. I feel so. Here's one thing. Let me get on my soapbox again. Nothing makes me more frustrated that when I'm watching a professional athlete, soccer, football, whatever, and these grown men are laying on the ground, rolling around, holding their quads or their calves, and the trainers are out there stretching out. I'm like,
give them salt.
That doesn't make sense to me, because you're a professional. You have a whole series of people behind you. Absolutely 100% no reason for you to be cramping. So
yeah, I agree. At elite levels or pro levels, you just have so much available to you.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll say yes to nutrition, but it's not the highest on the list for me, right? For the cramping, it's definitely the electrolyte balance that you have. But I'm also in the camp where I will maintain electrolytes. So we don't just throw electrolytes in the bottle when we do a workout. We don't do it like for this long of a distance or this type of sport. We typically will do, again, it's no secret, BioSteel is what we use, right? And so it's like when I grab my first, there you go. When I grab the first one for the day, it automatically just gets a scoop of electrolytes into it. Right. And then so that's kind of what we have. And so now I know that there's at least the balance of what I need for my electrolytes. And so I think when we're on the course and we're getting that cramping, it's a combination of, yes, weak muscle. And I'll even go as far as say that I would blame it on, or say the root cause of it could potentially be is that, maybe the athlete comes back and says, but I do all this calf stuff. I do, I do weights and I got everything in my hands and everything else. But did we train the muscle or the cramp muscle for endurance? Right. So we can train it for hypertrophy. We can train it for power. We can train it for strength. Right. But did we train it for endurance? And so it could be just that cramp, that muscle is just basically reached its end and it just doesn't have the endurance there like maybe the other ones. Right. It could be a muscle imbalance. But I agree that can come down to a weak muscle. But I also think it's definitely the electrolytes not being able to get what that muscle is demanding. right? So whether it's a quad, a hammy, or most times it's calves. It seems to be the calf is kind of like the culprit most of the
crutch.
time,
Mm-hmm.
right? That everybody seems to get those cramps into. Can you work through most of them? I think so, as long as like you say, hey, I identify. Like you should be doing those body scans anyways, right? Like I don't know what you're like with your athletes, but I tell them when you're out on those long runs, you're not necessarily thinking about the grocery list and the stuff, the problems at work. You should be thinking and visualizing, what am I doing? How is this run? I tell them every now and then pick a half mile, or every mile is just, all right, start at my head. How is everything working? Am I coming down? For me, I have to shrug up, shake down, and then shake out the fingers, because I'll start to tense up in the shoulders, right, when I'm running. But I get that in my body scan, and it should be also that starting to, like you said, and you should be able to, I feel the twinge coming on. Okay, what am I going to do about it? And so, I mean, if you're on course, you might have to wait till you get to the aid stations and have those electrolytes, or, can we avoid it ahead of time? I definitely think so. Right. And I think it's, again, having the proper maintenance of the electrolyte balance, because, really the muscle, is just screaming for the ATP. Right. And so, again, it's one of those things, you can have all the carbs you want, but if you don't have the potassium and some of those other minerals that we need to transport all that energy into the muscle, then it's useless, right? And so now you're just kind of you're working, you're firing the engine, but you're spinning the wheels. They're not necessarily going anywhere, I guess, maybe the analogy. So, the short answer, right, on that one is yes. I definitely think cramps are going to be because nutrition potentially, but that, again, that's an overall nutrition, right? Are we eating clean and healthy, right? And it doesn't have to be counting carbs, and it doesn't have to be the clean and healthy is, I can't remember if it was one of you two that mentioned it, or for somebody else that I was talking to, but basically said if it has a barcode, it's processed. Right. And so when you're eating food, are we eating too much processed? And that's going to be another whole rabbit hole we can go down on another episode potentially, right?
Like Five Guys. Alicia, what is your take on? What is your take on? So for those of you,
hold on a second. Hold on, sorry.
You can't just say Five Guys and
we're gonna have to explain.
No, I'm trying.
You have to explain that
so
one now
there
to
was,
me.
Our Canadian friend here was not familiar with Five Guys, so a conversation came around off camera, and we were talking about eating Five Guys, and our Canadian friend was very confused about what we were talking about. So,
well, no, I think it was the I think it was about an athlete, and I'm just like, where did we just go? Like, what are we talking? And then sort of like,
it was one of my athletes.
Restaurant. I'm like, all right, okay, I got you. So it's it's all good.
Alicia, what's your take on cramping?
Yeah, so
that'll get a censored.
I have
sure.
an athlete who has a fear of cramping because she cramped, and if anybody has ever cramped on a course, that is not something you want to experience twice. And it's so fun because we worked through it, and this was the funny part, because just like Ann said, if you fuel well on the bike, you will have a successful run. This one particular athlete overly fueled the bike, and she didn't cramp at all, but she had then to go to the bathroom multiple times. So that was like the ebb and flow. But I looked at it, I say that's a win in my opinion. I'm like, one, just pee your pants. No, number two, would you rather feel like you have to go to the bathroom or cramp? And she's like, oh, any day. It's like a 20-second to pop, go in the bathroom and, go it out. And she's like, but just knowing I didn't cramp. She's like, I just thought I was prone to cramping. And I'm like, exactly. Now we fueled super well. This is my PSA to all my athletes. Put your salt tabs in a Ziploc bag because one of the things she had done was she kept, I always say, cool yourself, dump water over your head, keep yourself cool.
Oh no.
And she dissolved her salt packet pot things were just like in her shorts, and they dissolved. She went to go get them and they were gone. So make sure those things stay nice and dry.
So that prompts a question in my mind is, so that you both will I guess let or suggest salt tablets, sodium tablets to
So,
your athletes?
I
'Cause
mean,
I don't. I say try to stay away from them unless you absolutely have to.
So typically, if I'll do like LMNT or precision, those are around 700 to 1,000 milligrams in a bottle. Those salt tabs for the most part, those are only like 200, so it's not even that much. So it's more of a emergency than take it. Because again, you're gonna get more in your liquids. It's just but sometimes you could get out there and I'm guilty of this too, and you just want water. You don't want the Gatorade, the electrolyte, like your mouth just can't take it. You just want water. And that's when I would say that's when you need your gels. I mean, I'm a gel person anyways, but pop that salt tab in there as the,
Because I know,
and drink your
here's
water.
and here's the kind of the warning is, a lot of athletes here, salt tabs, salt tabs, salt tabs. Now you can go, there's a brand or some brands out there, I won't specifically name them, but like they are so like there's enough salt in one tablet that I eat in a month, right? In our household. And so you can definitely go the very far side. So, and we're very limited on supplements and things like that. I mean, I used to be that everything, like you open it up and it's just like, all right, 10 minutes to make my cocktail and stuff. And then just slowly through science and learning, it's just like most of the stuff we just don't need. Right. And, you're just kind of throwing some money out there. But with the salt tablets, I do say, be careful of the ones that you're getting. Right. And be aware of it and make sure that you need them. Right. So again, most of my athletes, I'm like, well, let's do it this way. It's like you said, have it in your electrolytes. It should be balanced. And that's, most of the electrolytes that you get anyways, that's the biggest thing that you're looking for is the sodium and the potassium. You get some calcium and you get some irons and stuff, but mostly that's what we're looking for in our electrolytes.
So a question for you then.
I love this.
Right? Like this is what we should be doing. Because I'm ignorant about Canada. And give it to me in Fahrenheit, not the Celsius.
Can we talk about
we're
hockey?
so far away. Yeah.
Wait, yeah. Well, I don't know. Like not the Celsius bullshit, but how hot is it in your summer races? How are you dealing with humidity and heat? Is that a child?
Oh no! I have my little Fahrenheit to Celsius thing. I got it over here now. So
okay. Oh, good. So in your ultras, how hot is hot for you guys?
So there are segments that are raced where you can probably be about 95 to 100.
Okay. High humidity?
No, some drier humidities.
Okay.
You get into the BC race, yes, it'll be higher humidity. But in the Rockies, it's a little drier, but not too bad. So, Sinister 7, the one that's coming up here, the Three Sisters, it's not so bad. Okay. Right. But then when we get to Canadian Death Race, it's just such a crazy dry, like I said, like 100 degrees. Or Fahrenheit out there, right? But with no shade. Yeah. So you can get like 5 hours where you're out there and you're just baking.
And with an ultra, the temps can go from freezing to 90 degrees, and you're gone
for sure. So
it's like that desert weather,
Yeah, so in Celsius, because it doesn't go that low, but we can start the race, at the base, and it can be 25, 30 degrees Celsius. And then I've been at some of the peaks, especially at nighttime, and it can be down to 5 degrees. So like almost a 20, 30 degree difference Celsius, right? And so, when we see some of our mandatory gear on the checklist or strongly recommended is, at least toque, a jacket that, it always says, pack gear that if you're stuck at night or in the rain at the peak, you will survive for about 3 hours, because it might be 3 hours before somebody can come and get you, which, on a 100-miler race, I think that's pretty good.
So the reason I ask is that I think for my athletes in the Midwest, we're historically really humid and hot.
Mm-hmm.
all summer long when the races are happening. Here in Florida, we're already starting to get warm. I think it's going to cool down next week. and cool down is like low 80s, but like today on the way home is already 87 in my car. So, and we have humidity like I've never, well, it's very humid. So I think that's where the extra electrolytes, the extra salt comes into play. So the reason I asked was it probably does make sense that you are using them a little bit differently than like what I would be or what my athletes would be. But for the most part, I always have electrolytes in my drink. I do. I make my own. I just started doing that because I got really, really tired of paying the prices for Elements and Liquid IV. No, like to each their own, but it's so full of sugar. I got really tired of doing that, so I started making my own. And I can, if anybody wants the recipe, I can. You have to ask me.
Yeah.
You have to DM us.
Yeah, I was
Whatever.
gonna say they have to DM you for that for sure. Yeah.
So I would be glad to share that, but. This also brings up a good topic because we are right at an hour, but I would love to visit the supplement topic.
Oh, absolutely, right. I mean, like you're talking about you like to make your own electrolytes because you don't like the sugar, and that is one of the things I love about BioSteel and why I have all my athletes use it is because of the zero sugars, right?
What are they using? Stevia?
There's no sugars. There's just no sugars in it.
Okay, I need to try this stuff.
Yeah, I know. I've never tried it either.
Can we get it in the U.S.?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I need to check this out. Maybe I have had it and I just don't remember because that's
I'll check
also
and
a
see if I'm an
possibility.
ambassador for them. I don't think so, but if I am, whatever.
You should be at this point.
I mean, I should be. Yeah.
Where's that sponsorship?
That's right. But it works so well. We used a commercial stuff when I played junior A. We used the commercial stuff, right? That's out there that you get from the 7-Eleven. You already mentioned it once, but I won't. And they're so full of sugars, right? I mean, I think they're great. Like if you're having these Gatorades or Powerades and all these kinds of drinks. I say like I like it to drink because I like to drink. I don't drink it because of the electrolytes. Again, those types of drinks, we would have those sponsored bottles on the bench when I played hockey, but there was mostly water or they were cut with water because there was too much sugars for what we needed at the time, right? Now, does it work for some athletes? Absolutely. Some athletes will swear by those style of those, I call them the commercial corner store style sports drinks. But again, I've mentioned it multiple times. And again, we can talk about it in a different episode, but I like to have my electrolytes controllably separate. I like to have my, and when we say hydration or electrolytes, I'll kind of caveat that too, moving forward in the podcast. But, when we talk about hydration plans, we are talking about electrolytes and things like that. We're not just talking about water, right?
Now,
but I like
even for your
nutrition.
cyclists, you don't put carbs in bottles at all for your cyclists?
Sure, for sure. If that's what they want. So like you say, so we have the, I'm drawing a blank on some of the names, but there's one out there. It was designed by cyclists for cyclists that they want, but they put the electrolytes and the nutrition together, right? And so for what I was doing, even when I was doing triathlon, I like to just have it separate. Right? Because there's nothing scientific, and yet, there's nothing scientific that says that you have to eat your nutrition. Right? Like you can drink all your nutrition. It's just the human mind eventually just says, should I not be eating something?
I am a full, when I'm doing 70.3 or Ironman, 70.3, I am a full liquid nutrition all of the way. Yeah. Even it kind of makes sense, but for marathon swims, I'm the same way. I think that that's a whole other topic too, but so as we kind of wrap up, I wanted to talk, let's talk about supplements and what's negotiable, what's worth it and what's not. Let's just call it at that. And then another episode, I would love for all of us to dig in our cabinets because we know we have that special bin and pull out the stuff that's in those bins and like what we've liked. I just threw away a whole bunch of stuff that was like that we had tried and gels and weird things.
Mhm.
So we should do that, like a little show and tell too, and see what's in there and what
Yeah.
has been pushed to the
Mhm.
back, because I have a couple things that have been moved to the side that I don't use anymore.
Again, I know we're at the very end, and Anne, you missed this last week when it was just JW and I, but we discussed, and viewers, if you guys thought, let us know what you think, but pulling in some of our athletes or and doing some like run technique, swim technique, actually looking at the video, and then us
Yeah.
as coaches analyzing it. So getting some like real time what we do kind of behind the scenes if athletes ever kind of came
Consent.
on
Yeah.
and wanted feedback on technique.
Yeah, I think that's right. When kind of the way we'll spin it off is it's going to be kind of like be an in between bonus, because it will have to be a visual. Like you'll have to watch the YouTube or the Spotify video of it. I mean, you can listen, but it'll make more sense when you can see what we're talking about. So any listeners, yeah, I mean, great call, Alicia. Is if any listeners out there think that they would like to be the point of conversation, DM us, right? Shoot us a message, make a comment, let us know, and we'll get you in there. Do we want to try to do the next episode on our supplements? Was that the first one you said, Anne?
It was, but I just only because we talked about it a little bit here. Yeah,
I think it's an awesome one to segue into for the next episode, because surprise, we get talking, and we kind of dig into some of the certain topics that we didn't necessarily, we were potentially going to talk about.
Five Guys.
Caffeine and how we use that type of stuff. And I think the caffeine actually can fall into that supplement and pre-race setup and everything. So I think it's a pretty good one there. And it might actually even be able to help us finish off the taper part. But I think athletes have a pretty good understanding so far, where it is with your taper and the different styles that coaches can have when we get there. So really, I mean, the segue kind of is, we can't cram for the endurance race in a final week, right? Like this takes weeks of training. I tell all my athletes, we can train your nutrition to anything you want unless you have a medical reason, but we start at week 18. Right, week 1 of 18, right? We start in week 1 of 22. You need to train it early, right? So really, when it comes to that race day, we get into that taper, expect those phantom pains, expect a decrease in fitness, expect the form and the rest to happen, and you come out sharp on race day. So trust the work that you've done and let your body absorb all that fitness and come out ready. Your homework, right? Audit your race week plan now. Right. You don't have a race for 2 months. Have it, your coach may have it in the ATP already. You may have it in Training Peaks. Maybe you have a paper log, whatever it is, but go and look at those 2 weeks prior. Map out what it's going to look like for you now, so you don't have to do the guesswork, right? And then after you listen to next week's or the next episode, when we talk about supplementing and caffeine, you'll be able to have a strategy before it actually happens, right? And I think what we also didn't get to talk about today was a little deeper dive into strength and how that can play into the taper weeks. But figure out what you're going to do. So write it all down so you don't panic on that race week, because it's easy to think about it now and plan for it now and then just execute it in that 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out, 1 week out in what you're doing. And if you have any, I think it is clear that the three of us had some different non-negotiables for those 2 weeks or 1 week tapers. If the listeners, if you have a specific non-negotiable that you like to do, or you just tell your coach, I have to do this. This is my non-negotiable. Drop us a message. Let us know what it is. Again, DM us, right? You can message any one of us directly. If you haven't figured it out, we do talk off the air. And let us know. All right. So that's the homework. Audit your race week plan now. Map out exactly what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and when you're going to do it. Write it down and let us know. Okay. I'm Coach JW. Trust the taper week, fit the training into the chaos, and we'll see you on the trails.
You guys, I'm going off my normal. You're amazing. I've been staring at this, and if you're listening to this, I've been staring at this little tiny frog. It's literally the size of my fingertip, and my daughter gave it to me. She got it from school. I'm going to read this thing to you. It's called the positive frog. So if you're ever in a bad mood or you're overthinking things, it says, I may be a tiny frog, but I believe in you. Go do your thing. I know it. You know it. Tiny frog has your back whenever you need to pick me up. You're
Aw,
amazing.
I love that. Hold on to your knickers.
That's a wrap for this week on the Endurance Balance. If you enjoyed the conversation, do us a huge favor. Hit that follow or subscribe button on your podcast app right now. It's the best way to support the show. And hey, we want to see your chaos. So come find us on Instagram at The Endurance Balance and drop us a DM. For Coach Alicia and Coach Ann, I'm Coach JW. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the trails.